computer so I can work with them. Did you hear that?
I did hear it. We are
Okay. All right.
recording.
Okay. So, my name is Gabriella, and this is the first episode of Brazen Mavens, a podcast about life over 50. And this is my co-host, Sasha.
Hi,
Um,
everyone.
and we are new to this, so I just want to let everyone know that we have decided that we are going to make this completely raw. There will be no cutting. We will try to stay on topic and keep it flowing as to not bore you. But just so you know, we're not going to cut anything. And we're hoping to have some very good sessions talking about all things over 50, which is an amazing amount of topics as we have both discovered. So just a little bit about the reason for the show. My mom passed away about 3 years ago, and up until about 10 years before she passed, I had a very formal relationship with her. But then she started to kind of warm up. I just grew up with her being very Canadian and very proper, and just always told us, I'm not your friend, I'm your mother. So there were things, and obviously from the time she grew up, she was born in the 40s. There were just things that weren't talked about. And so growing up, we just really didn't have that relationship, and that I really admired in some of my American friends, and their moms were a little more, talkative and helpful. But in the last 10 years before she passed, we kind of crossed over into a different relationship, and it was wonderful. And um, I felt free to ask her things, and she felt free to talk about them. So I'm not sure if it was the times or if it was just me getting older. But I really enjoyed it. And I finally saw what everyone had always talked to me about, how funny she was, how wise she was. Because before that, I was like, funny? No. But she was hilarious. And she, I just began to see her as a real person, and just really took advantage of all the knowledge and everything that she was able to pass. And then the reassurance that we've all been there. It seems like you're the first one to get there, the first one to experience this, but I've been there, I've experienced it. This is what I did. She never told me what to do, but she said, you're fine. And I think when you do hit your 50s, there's a lot of relief in some areas, but then there's a lot of panic in other areas, because nobody talked about this stuff. So now we're kind of in an era, I think, that we can all talk about things very openly. And that is why it's called Brazen Mavens. So brazen, unapologetic, and then mavens, because after 50, we deserve to be called mavens. We've been through it. So this is just really to discuss like all of those things. And I'm super excited. I've been trying to get this off the ground for a long time. And I finally met someone that I wanted to do this with, and that is you, Sasha.
Oh, thanks.
I think you and I come from a very similar place, and I think together we can, with our experience in senior care, we can add a lot to the conversation. And so that's why I want to hand it over to you just to tell us a little bit about you.
Well, definitely. But before I go into me, go into a bit about your background, so
Mhm.
everybody kind of knows you are married and you have
Yes.
how many kids and those ages.
Oh, okay. Well, yes, I am married. I have 5 children. This is my second marriage, but it's been a good one. First one wasn't so great, but got on the right track at 34 with this guy. And he brought 3 children into the marriage, so we can talk about merged families as they grow. So 3 children. So he brought in Alexis, Katie, and Amy, and they're lovely. And we started raising them together pretty much exclusively, from the age of 3, 6, and 10. And then I brought in Sean, and he was 6 also. So Katie and Sean were the Twinkies. And then a couple of years after we were married, we welcomed Annabelle. And so she's kind of the glue. And they were all raised under our roof. So it was wonderful. But it had its challenges and it continues to have its challenges, even regular parenting, step parenting, merged families. So that's something we could talk about again too. And then as far as my life with seniors, I started when I was 17, and I am now 55. So I'm coming up on almost 40-year anniversary. I love seniors. And I only briefly went out and did other things, but I always come back to it. It's just something I enjoy. And when I started at 17, I never thought I'd be this age. So I'm getting closer and closer to what I have worked with. And you know, I think part of this talk is also just kind of demystifying things and facing fears, because I have experienced a lot of fear,
Mhm.
because I'm so close to it and I know what's coming and or what
Yeah.
could be coming, but it doesn't happen to everybody. All, the bad things, the good things, whatever. It doesn't happen uniformly, but I'm really eager to kind of bring things out to the forefront, demystifying them at least. And I think the more we know, the easier it is to transition. And so that's it. What about you?
Cool.
Tell
And
me.
yeah, so thank you. I think it's one of the reasons I wanted you to talk about your family is because I think that's really what started our conversation together, and got us both on track for this podcast because I'm just turning 50 and a bit this year. Um,
What date?
and
What month?
End of October, end of this month.
Oh, it's
I've already
happening.
broken the 50 barrier, but this is the
Okay.
first. Oh,
And if
it
you
really
take
happened.
gestation, you're actually 50. If we do it the Chinese way, you're already 50.
Right.
Yes.
But we're in that generation where we're at the same time our kids are we're becoming empty nesters because our kids are going off to college or have gone off to college and are
Yeah.
having their own adult relationships.
Hmm.
At the same time, we're looking towards our parents and at our parents, either aging or passing or being ill or dealing with financial stress. So um, we do have a little bit of expertise on both ends of that age spectrum, I think.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, so my name is Sasha. I have grown up in the finance industry. I started on the London Stock Exchange at 16 years old. I have an entrepreneur as a father and a British Russian nanny as a mother. And raised in a very similar household to you, very strict. We didn't talk about a lot of these things. Um, we'll go into a lot of our firsts as we go
Yeah.
through the podcast. But that when you think of how different it is raising, how we were raised compared to us raising our children, and
Mm.
how they're subsequently now raising their children, and what
Yes.
we have to say about that. um,
Not too much usually. It backfires. Yeah.
and so it's going to be, I think we've got a lot of topics to discuss. As people may hear, I've got a bit of an accent. I'm from all over the world. I've grown up in England and Canada and Switzerland and Brazil and back here in the US. So I have an international viewpoint as well as a local. We've been here in Southern California for 20 years now, and then another 10 years on and off. Um, and the senior space really, I think my involvement in reverse mortgages in particular, home equity conversion mortgages, and working with seniors in particular stems from the fact that I was watching seniors, frankly, being taken, I wouldn't say taking advantage of, but certainly um, there was very little patience for them, I saw in the finance world.
Yeah.
People didn't want to take the time to explain things or to simplify things or put them into a context they would be familiar with or make accommodations for lack of technical skill sets.
Big thing. Yeah.
Yeah, so there was all these little things that I recognized as that were going to be sticking points, obstacles, um, bottlenecks in the financial process of getting a mortgage or getting a reverse mortgage,
Right.
that it really it struck me, wow, we need to make some changes as an industry. I want to be involved in getting a community surrounding me that are senior focused. So they all
Mhm.
truly come from a background of wanting the best for our potential mutual clients, but more importantly, that they understand some of these difficulties already with seniors.
Right.
So you don't have to go through as a professional and explain every time, hey, this person is, this, and this. I can, turn around to you, Gabby, and say, okay, my client is 98 years old. And you're immediately going to know some of those obstacles that we're going to encounter and
Mhm.
accommodations we're going to have to make. And, you're not going to be frustrated with that. You're not going to be annoyed at that.
We'll be
Um,
familiar. Yeah.
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 And so I think that, having in real life, you and I surround
Mhm.
ourselves with these professionals in different
Mhm.
networking groups that we're a part of.
Yes.
And this podcast is really, I think, to help go through all these different topics that
Mhm.
our ages and experiences have allowed us to become experts at, besides our actual professional expertise that we both have.
Yes.
Um, but things like, health and humor. I just, no one told me about menopause, Gabby.
Mm. Well, I
And
have lots of information about that.
I'm
So,
telling
yeah,
you, that's going to be
lots of
probably
information.
a subject we're going to be discussing a lot. And we're going to have guests on our
Yes.
podcast too,
Yeah,
which I
yeah,
think is really,
for
different
sure.
expertise that, we want to bring in, different points of view, because we really welcome talk and discussion here. You're never going to find just one viewpoint on different topics. I think both you and I love our
Yeah.
research on things. And so,
And
um,
I don't want to do all the work. I mean, I know about it, but I think one of the most amazing things about being 50 and over, so welcome pretty soon. I mean, there are things, like I said, it's terrifying on some levels, and sad on some levels, and we'll go over all that, grieving process and things like that. I mean, it starts at around 50. But then there's also some amazing things. And one of those things is, like I said, I've been in senior care since I was 17. And I was looking when I turned 55 last January, this past January, I was thinking, well, what do I want to do? I don't really want to work this hard. I own a home care company, by the way. I don't think I said that. I don't want to work this hard, for another 20 years. I want to work smarter. But I've unintentionally devoted my whole life to seniors and understanding them and knowing everything about senior care and the finance, all of it. But I'm not an expert. But here's the beautiful thing is that you've had so much experience, you now know who to talk to. And I think that's what we're going to do. That's what I want to do with the show.
yeah.
I want to, I've experienced my own things. You're going to experience your own things. That'll bring up the topics, but then, and of course, I have cursory knowledge if I've already gone through it. But I want to reach out to people who really know. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to bring them on. They'll have their own little box. And I will actually have them prepare questions for us, as how I want to
And
do it.
that's exactly
Yeah.
what happens when you get to our age is you
Mhm.
understand you don't know a lot.
A lot.
and
Yeah, I
the,
want to
and
learn too. Yeah.
exactly, and the more that we can engage in that learning process still,
Hmm.
um, is not only good for us and our brains,
Hmm.
but truthfully, I feel like it's that tribal matriarchal knowledge that's not passed down generationally
Right.
anymore,
We were
because
the
we
first
don't.
generation to talk,
Yeah,
honestly.
we really didn't have, um, I look at my husband's culture. He's from Brazil, and
Hmm.
they live multi-generationally. They
Hmm.
have their elders living at home. And
Yeah,
so a lot of this knowledge is
it's passed
passed
on.
down, but may not be from mother to daughter, but it's grandmother to
Oh, for
granddaughter.
sure. Yeah.
That dynamic I think is really interesting, and I was very close with my grandmother, in particular on my dad's side. Um, and how special that relationship is. I want to definitely be
Mhm.
exploring that, and just really being a resource
Mhm.
where we're talking about a topic. In the description, people are going to be able to find who we're talking to, where to
Yes.
get that information from, um, and
We'll be
yes, and where
very
to get
good
hold of
about that.
us
Yeah,
if,
putting in
they
resource
have
notes.
expert, exactly, resources that they
Mm.
need from,
Mhm.
maybe it's not our own professions. As you
Mhm.
said, you have a home healthcare company. I have
Mhm.
a mortgage company, so reverse
Mhm.
mortgages, forward mortgages, commercial loans. And, so we both have kind of our corners where we're experts and
Mhm.
mavens already, but
Mhm.
it's the life stuff that we want to bring experts to the table
Yeah.
too.
And I feel like we're all going to go through all these things in some form or fashion. So I mean, obviously the topics are going to be, things that may have already occurred to me because I'm older than you. Uh, but or things I hear about, like my friends talking about, that kind of stuff. So I'm
Mhm.
always scribbling down like topics and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the whole idea, and like I was saying, when you hit 50, one of the beautiful things is, number one, the Brazen Maven thing is for real. The confidence, at least for me and a lot of my friends, it just has soared. You look back, and all of a sudden you look back and you go, oh my God, it's been 30 years. I've been working as a professional for over 30 years.
Mhm.
And you just want, I feel like I think what I struggled with a lot, and I may not be alone or whatever, and we'll have a psychologist come and talk about this. I struggled a
Mhm.
lot with identity. And it was like all of a
Mhm.
sudden, my children are all moving out. They don't need me anymore. They made that very clear. I mean, in their 20s, they barely call you. The only time you hear from them is a lot of times when they need money. And that's fine because that's what we did too. But it's like you spend all this time raising children, building a career, in our case, building a company, and then you kind of get to almost an abrupt stop. It's very
Mhm.
strange. It's like all of a sudden the kids are gone. You have no one, hardly anyone in the house anymore. You're not having to rush home and make dinner for 7 people any longer. So you kind of have to reinvent yourself, and but what I felt was I didn't want to completely reinvent myself and leave everything behind.
Mhm.
And so that's what I feel like this podcast is, our legacy, bringing to the table all of our expertise. It can't be for nothing. And I think that's really, I think maybe what a lot of people do go through. And I have a very good friend,
Mhm.
and we'll bring her on a lot, if she'll do it. She's a
Mhm.
psychologist and she's in her 70s.
Mhm.
And she's been amazing. She's been a mentor my whole life. And she was my very first boss in the healthcare arena.
Mhm.
So she was
Mhm.
not my friend, when I first started, when I was 23. But
Mhm.
she has become a very dear friend. And
Mhm.
she does a lot of counseling with people, doing life transitions and things. So she's told
Mhm.
me people all have these things, but you all, when you're going through it, you think you're doing it alone. So just coming to the table, bringing the experience that we have, and kind of creating a legacy, I think for me anyway, that's very
Mhm.
personally, that's something that's very important, because you don't want to just go whenever that is. And I mean,
Mhm.
honestly, in my opinion, after 50, every day is a gift. You just never, you don't know. You don't
Yeah,
know. I've
yeah,
seen it all.
yeah.
And so I every morning do my gratitude prayer, and just like I
Mhm.
say, thank you. I woke up this morning. You just never know. And so to
Yep.
me, every day is precious. But if I make it to like 70, and or 75 or 80 or whatever it is, I want to leave something behind. I don't
Yeah,
want to just have someone say, yeah, she built a business and then she went away.
yeah. And I think that's so interesting because I turned 50 last year and it hit me like a ton of bricks.
Well, wait a minute. You
Um,
turned 50 last year?
yes, yeah. So
Okay,
I'm
that's right.
51 at the end of this month.
Oh, okay. I thought you were turning
So
50. Because I was like, I know you told me you turned 50. Okay. So, yes. Otherwise, you're
um
not qualified to be on this. No, I'm just
I
kidding.
know, I
No,
know.
just kidding.
So,
Okay.
it hit me because I was going through a health issue with I
Hmm.
had a severe concussion that I was dealing with. And it hit me with life events with my parents.
Mm-hmm.
It hit me because of life events with my children. Um, it wasn't this like, ta-da, I'm 50. I was looking at a lot of friends online being super excited about turning 50. And
I
I
want to
was
meet
just like,
them.
mm,
I was like,
yeah, no, I'm
no.
not super excited about like this body that's going through these changes that I don't
Mm.
understand, that I don't feel like I'm getting very good advice from the
Nope, you're
medical
not.
community. Um,
You're not.
and it just, we're tired. Like you said, like
Mm-hmm.
we're coming to this phase of, okay, we don't have to rush home and make dinner for our whole family.
Mm-hmm.
But because we were constantly running on that high speed
Yeah.
and we never really stopped, now all of a sudden we're coming to this screeching halt. And it's like, well, now I don't know if I want to get started again.
Yes, and
Now
yes.
I
So
don't know if I
motivation
want to
is
do
a
these
thing. Yeah.
things, I
That's
don't
why it's
know if
taken me
I,
3 years to get this thing going.
yeah, it's been very polemic in my mind sometimes where I'm like, okay, I'm going to rush and get this done. And then, oh, no, I'm ruling this out. This is a
Yeah.
non-starter. I don't have time for this.
Yeah.
So it's a very, it's a filtering process is the
Yeah.
best.
Yeah. And getting
Um,
excited about things again. I think
new,
that's a
new things
new
maybe that,
things. Like,
mhm,
I think as you get older, things that's why people don't really take on I try to listen to music, like new
mhm,
music.
mhm, mhm,
It's not the same, so I
mhm,
try though because I'm very musical, and it distresses me that new
mhm.
music does not excite me anymore. I'm like, I have officially,
Back in our day.
yeah,
Well,
officially
and
have
that's one
become
of,
old. I don't, you see like Saturday Night Live or whatever, and they have the musician on, and I'm like, who is that? Like,
yeah.
I have no idea. So when
Well,
I do find one, I get excited.
exactly. Well, and I think one of those kind of leaps of faith we're making is this podcast,
Yeah,
and just deciding that we're going to do it raw. We're not going to. Eventually, we might edit some pieces and have some short clips and so on. But
when we
I
get
don't want
older.
people. Yeah, I don't want people to misinterpret something out of
Yeah,
context. And we're because we make mistakes, and I think that's a
yeah,
big part of what we want to show too, that we're just humans. Um, and we make mistakes like everybody else, and how we deal with them is we tell our kids that's part of your character, right? That's who you
yeah,
are as people, and we want to show people who we really are. So
yeah. I
welcome
think
to
you're
our
right.
podcast, everybody.
Yes, welcome. And so that is just for everyone listening. This is going to be probably the most free form. I promise that as we bring on new topics and our experts and all of that, things will be a lot more organized. And of course, we want a little banter, which is why I wanted Sasha, because we just we just see eye to eye on so many things. And so and I think there's a lot of strength and I think in our relationship. So that's why I wanted two people to discuss things and bring a little humor into it. But it will be more structured. We're going to try to limit it to about 30 minutes. So it's a nice commute show for everyone. And then eventually we will get things set up so that you can, we're going to try to put it on YouTube, all of that, so people can leave comments, maybe suggest things that they might want to hear about.
Yep,
And we'll definitely welcome that. And then we'll just see how it evolves. I'm very excited. I'm so
me
happy
too.
that we finally
I
finally
know
got
we did
together to
it.
do
We
this.
did our first episode, Gabby.
We
Can you
did our
believe
first
it?
episode. But
Awesome.
yeah. So you feel good?
Thank you guys so much for
Yeah.
joining us, and I feel great. I think we're going to be awesome at this.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Hold on. Now, I need to, and I can cut this. Where is my,
That wasn't bad at all. I think we did good. I think that was almost exactly 30 minutes, right?